Photographed possession of the Plains warrior would be his pipe tomahawk, an intriguing dual device for sealing friendship or delivering death. The design and development was of English origin, made specifically for the fur trade with the Indians. They first appeared around 1700 and were one of the main commodities for the next 180 years. The pipe tomahawks flooded the plains as every warrior needed the new ingenious weapon. The name of the traditional tomahawk is derived from the Renop Indian word, tamahagan. The handles are usually made of ash, as it's strong but with a soft heartwood that is easily bored out with a hot iron for the pipe stem. Many have decorated hide drops with spiritual meaning hanging from the handle. Please support us by watching our long videos. Click the related video button below for something special.
Pony, Tektasha Kodik. Titoi Utsi. Kewuko Witira Rook. Asautauka. Kuruks Tariha. Lusa Kuri Kulaha. Sarah Watkawi. Sitiro Ihu Rarik. Laru Chuk A Rar O.
Hollow Horn Bear had some horses stolen. He and a group of Two Kettle Indians, Two Kettles are one of the 7 sub-tribes of the Lakota, were out looking for these horses. While at Hart Creek, a branch of the Yellowstone, he first saw the soldiers. This was at the start of June. The soldiers were moving westward. He was informed that this was Long Hair's men. They trailed the soldiers for 2 days and then cut across to the greasy grass to meet up with Sitting Bull and were there for the battle. Papa warrior Long Dog fought at the Battle of the Little Bighorn. He was already a legend amongst the young warriors who admired his resilience and his powerful protective medicine in battle. He was also known as a practical joker and a bit of a comedian amongst his band. Shot in the eye was shot from his horse. During the battle, the bullet hitting him in the left eye, he recovered quickly, and with blood all over him, he rode back into the fight.
Comanche. Toshawa. Nokane. Mumshu Kawa. Tarponi. Tenequa. Narsquidi. Wakniatua. Muhi Tatsu. Jano Hadi. Howare. Essa Habith. Kinta.
During the year of 1887, a band of young Crow warriors left the reservation to raid the Blackfoot. A number of Blackfoot warriors were killed. Upon returning to the reservation, the Crows were chastised by the Indian agent for the raid. The young warriors shot into the agent's home before leaving and taking with them hundreds of warriors. The agent called in the army, and just 3 miles from Custer's last stand, the young Crow warriors made their stand. In pre-dug rifle pits they fought, but the soldiers had brought 2 of the feared Hotchkiss guns, and after a short battle, the Crow surrendered. 2 Whistles, seen here, had his right arm amputated below the elbow after being shot. This was the first and only time the government fought the Crows. It became known as the Crow Uprising. Check out our long videos for in-depth Native American war stories. Cherokee Shakunga began riding with outlaw gangs in the 1870s. Everyone knew him as Blue Duck. Across Oklahoma, he and the gang committed armed robberies and other crimes. At one time, he was romantically involved with outlaw Belle Starr. In 1884, he and fellow outlaw William Christie, while drunk, emptied their revolvers into a Cherokee farmer, killing him. They reloaded and shot at a young boy who witnessed the murder, missing him but killing his horse. U.S. Marshal Cochran captured the pair and put them before the hanging judge, Isaac Parker. Amazingly, they both escaped the noose, but Blue Duck was sentenced to life in prison. After being diagnosed with tuberculosis, he was pardoned and died shortly after. One of the most common and terrifying weapons on the plains was the stone war club. Warriors carefully selected the smooth stones by size and shape. They were sourced from rivers or streams and ground into shape. The stone would then have a groove carved into it around the middle. In this groove, a green tree branch is wound, and then down the sides of the timber handle. Over this setup, wet rawhide is stretched and sewn tight. As the wet rawhide dries, it shrinks and grips the stone to the long handle. The handles were usually long as they were mostly used whilst on horseback. Some clubs had a round stone encased in rawhide and tethered to the handle, similar to a medieval mace. Many of the clubs seen here have seed bead ornamentation. War clubs were used to a great extent at the Battle of the Little Bighorn. Join us at Wildwestfaces for more.
Dakota Sioux, Si Chawa Kinga. Black eyes. Kantewanika. Follows the road. Shoots the enemy. Matowanagi. Buffalo Boy. Iron Shell. Mato Kokipa.
The Kiowa called the winter of 1834 Patan Ihadal Desai, or winter that Bulltail was killed. The Kiowa had made their winter camp on the Washita, a war party set out against the Tonhin Takai, or Mexicans of the waterless country. Those Kiowa had camped all winter at a mountain on the edge of the Staked Plain, known as Dangya Khan Kop, or Black Ice Mountain. One morning in spring, several men were out looking for their ponies. They were suddenly surrounded by Mexicans, and all killed, including Patan, Bulltail. The other warriors saw the fight from a distance, but being vastly outnumbered, had to watch on helplessly as their comrades were slaughtered. The Kiowa who were left made their escape before they were seen. and made the long journey home to their village to relay the news of the warriors' deaths. Join us at Wildwestfaces for more.
Comanche. Cherokee. Havasupai. Sioux. Paiute. Ute. Ponca. Apsaroki. Sioux. Crow. Pawnee. Taka Deeks Ta Sioux. Kahik and Boy. Chief Matlock. Sitting Bull. Wife of Two Tucka Pissish Taruk. Brave Chief.
The Blackfoot or Niitsitapi is the collective name of sub-tribes called the Kainai, also known as Blood, or many chiefs, the Siksika or Blackfoot, and the Pagan, also known as Pikani, or Splotchy Robe. Blackfoot held a huge territory ranging from southern Canada and everything down to Montana and the Yellowstone National Park. The tribe had an estimated population of over 15,000 people in the early 1800s. When the Blackfoot obtained horses, they aggressively pushed other tribes like the Shoshone, Flathead, and Kootenai, west of the Continental Divide. They were one of the first tribes to use pishkuns, steep cliffs over which herds of bison were driven. Join us at Wildwestfaces for more. In 1862, a Mdewakanton Dakota named Taoyataduda, or Little Crow, led a band of warriors in a 5-week war against the U.S. government. The Dakota, faced with hunger, settlers' incursions into their land, and tensions with Indian agents, wanted war. The situation had become a powder keg. The fuse was lit when 4 Dakota warriors killed 5 settlers, including 2 women. Initially against war, Little Crow led his band, killing hundreds of settlers and capturing 300 mixed-blood and white women. Little Crow was shot by 2 settlers who scalped him. The government paid the settler $500 for killing Little Crow, and his scalp was acquired by the Minnesota Historic Society and put on display. In 1971, The scalp was given back to his grandson. Join us at Wildwestfaces for more. Jenny Ross Cobb was a Cherokee woman who is credited with being the first female indigenous photographer in the U.S. Born in 1881, Jenny attended the Cherokee National Female Seminary, one of the initial institutions of higher learning for women west of the Mississippi River. She was given a camera by her father at age 15, and this present started her fascination with photography. She turned her living room closet into a dark room to develop the photographs she took. The pictures she took reflect her Cherokee history. She often took photographs of Cherokee women, capturing moments other photographers could never obtain. Although she only took photographs over a 7-year period, she leaves a legacy that will live forever. Join us at Wildwestfaces for more.
Yanktonai Nakota Sioux Marfi Anazin. Kandi Tanka. Tokaheyakte. Zitkana Chicana. Matomazo. Zitka Sapamaza. Matoiwan Kamani. Kiowa Sinyamani.
During the 1870s, Indian cowboys played a role in the great cattle drives that moved through Texas. These were iconic events in American Old West history, and it was common to find at least one Indian cowboy participating in each drive. This representation highlights the diverse contributions to the cowboy culture that often go overlooked. The transition of many Native Americans into the role of cowboys was not only logical, but also a necessary adaptation to changing circumstances. As tribes were forced onto reservations, their traditional nomadic lifestyles came to an end. With this shift, the role of the warrior diminished, and the cowboy grew. Native Americans were exceptional horsemen, renowned for their skills and understanding of animals. Their connection with nature and the outdoors made them well suited for the demands of herding cattle. Please subscribe to Wildwestfaces for more interesting photographs and videos.
Apache. Yenengai. Alchius. Chide. Herluala. Kuni. Genetoa. Semio. Chiniki.
The Plains tribe's shields were made from wood and hide. The various tribes had different methods of constructing the shields, but they were basically the same concept. The warrior would seek out an appropriate-sized green tree branch of willow and bend it to form a circle. Then a wet buffalo bull hide was stretched over the wooden frame into a convex shape. As the hide dried over a fire, it shrunk and stiffened, creating a tough, hard surface. Sometimes additional layers were glued over the first, with glue made from buffalo hooves. The shields were strong enough to ward off blows from club or axe. They stopped arrow penetration and even lead musket balls. Many shields have covers with spiritual significance. It's interesting to note that the warrior placed more importance on the spiritual designs and medicine objects attached to the shield for protection than the actual shield itself.
Black Eagle, Assiniboine, Espon Unza Oa, Mojave, Spokane, Broken Jaw, Cree, Husis Mox, Palouse, Ute, Weton, Cree, Stella Yellow Shirt and Baby, Sioux, Crow, Gray, Lakota Sioux, Lone Wolf, High Bear, White Bull, One Bull, Not Afraid of Pawnee, Old Man Afraid of His Horses,
Hip is considered the last true chief of the Comanches. Although Quanah Parker became a great chief and leader, he was given that role by Indian agents and not the tribe. Texas Ranger A.J. Soule gives account of the 1872 battle on the Keep Ranch with Hip. He made several dashes towards us, and he was the best rider I ever saw. He was a slim, trim-made Indian, about 22 years old. He was mounted on a beautiful blood bay horse. This warrior rode with no saddle, but had a red blanket strapped around his horse. He could dismount and mount again, with his horse in a gallop, displaying an agility that was surprising. He could drop down on the opposite side of his horse, as quick as a flash, and expose nothing but his hand and foot, his horse going at full speed. He wore red leggings and fine beaded moccasins. He also Native American moccasins varied from location to location across the country. The Plains, Southwestern, and Great Basin tribes used a hard-soled moccasin, consisting of 2 pieces of leather, a hard sole of shaped rawhide, and a fitted leather upper. The hard soles were to protect feet from heat, rocks, and prairie grasses. A soft-soled moccasin was used by the southeastern and eastern woodlands tribes. These moccasins were usually constructed from a single piece of leather and were made by bringing up the sole of the shoe around the foot and puckering the material around the instep and sewn down the middle. Soft-soled moccasins were suited to the woodlands with leaf and pine needle covered ground. Some soft-soled moccasins from the plains were made, but they were sewn along one side of the foot rather than the center. These extraordinary high-top moccasins were made by the Lakota in 1880. When we got out about 15 miles on the road, an Apache Indian appeared, and so suddenly that it seemed as if he must have sprung up from the ground. He was in full war dress, that is, no dress at all except the breech clout and moccasins, and his face and whole naked body were stained in many colors, in the most hideous manner. In his scalp lock was fastened a number of eagle feathers. There was nothing unusual about the trotting pony he was riding, but the one he was leading, undoubtedly his war horse, was a most beautiful animal. The Apache evidently appreciated the horse, for he had stained only his face, but this had been made quite frightful. The long tail was roped only enough to fasten at the top, a number of strips of the red that hung almost to the ground. Imagine all this savage hideousness rushing upon you. His very presence on an ordinary trotting pony was enough to freeze the blood in one's veins. Francis Rowe, 1873.
Crow. Siksika. Cheyenne. Crow. Blackfoot. Arapaho. Kiowa. Crow. Crow. Salish Kalpsuachi. Chinkusui. Bear blood. Carlo. Simke. Isidar. Kutsumksa. Chief Aeneas. Gentle bird. Four bulls. Oto. Harigare. Makes a noise. Wanga. Magapa. Chardon Naryoa. Wanosei. Nepewala. Opernomnina. Wetkuni. White horse.
In 1533, Spanish forces were exploring areas to the north of their new settlement. A large number of Yaqui warriors confronted the Spaniards on a level plain. Their leader, an old man, drew a line in the dirt and told the Spanish not to cross it. The Spanish started a fight, and a bloody battle ensued. The Spanish claimed victory, but then retreated. 30 years later, they attempted to establish a settlement in Yaqui territory, but it failed. In 1608, the Yaqui, with 2,000 Mayo allies, defeated the Spanish in two huge battles. After this, the Spanish brought peace offerings. In the 1700s, the Spanish miners started trespassing on Yaqui land. The Spanish government intervened, and over 5,000 Yaqui were killed, and 1,000 Spanish troops. Revered around the world as expert and fearless horsemen, it was natural that the Indians would find work as cowboys. They were used to living on the open prairie, spending months on a horse, living with extreme heat and cold, thunderstorms, flooding rivers, prairie fires. The harsh life of a warrior was paralleled in the harsh life of a cowboy. One of the most famous cowboy bronc riders was Nez Perce man Wayatona Tositz Khan, or Jackson Sundown, a champion of the rodeo. Perhaps the best-known cowboy of this era was the movie star Will Rogers, born into the Cherokee Nation. Blackfoot, Tom Three Persons, worked as a mail carrier for the Indian Agency, a scout for the Northwest Mounted Police, and a cowboy for local ranches. He was the winner of the first World Bucking Horse Championship at the Calgary Stampede. Please support our channel by watching our long videos. Mini Warrior War Stories.
Crow. Dakota Sioux. Blackfoot. Nez Perce. Flathead. Crow. Winnebago. Cheyenne. Bonka. Cherokee. Arapaho. Cheyenne. Cherokee. Cheyenne. White Mountain Apache. Mohican. Mandan. Sioux. Mescalero Apache. Crow. Long otter. Esco Dotaches. Medicine crow. Plenty buffaloes. Hairy moccasin. Curly. White man runs him. Goes ahead. Bull goes hunting. Short bull.
Burn All Over was 67 years old when he and other Cheyenne warriors attacked Fort Reno. While it was under construction in 1874, in this fight he was burnt all over. Born into the golden age for Plains tribes in 1807, he lived a life many of us could only dream of. In this photograph taken in 1914, he was 107 years old. He died 3 years later. Chief No Flesh, or Kanaka Wanaka, was named for his lean physique. He was an Oglala Sioux warrior. In this photograph, he carries a typical Sioux Gunstock war club with blades. He visited Washington many times with peace delegations. In 1877, he joined the U.S. Army as a scout against the Sioux sworn enemy, the Nez Perce. Many Plains tribes use navel or umbilical amulets as spiritual protection for their young children. They were thought to ward off disease and sickness. When a child is born, its umbilical cord is dried and curled up and placed in one of these amulets. Most are made from deer hide and seed beads. Girls were usually given turtles, and boys were given lizards. Turtles were a symbol of longevity. The amulet is then placed on the cradle board, a baby's first toy. When the female child grows, the amulet would then be worn on their dress. If a boy, the amulet would be worn by a sister on her belt, or worn by the mother. The Sioux called these amulets Patakasa Kshupi Wotawe. The word Wotawe translates to charm, to cover whatever was held sacred and revered for its inherent power. Join us for more at Wildwestfaces. Little Wound was a Sioux war chief in 1873. At a place now known as Massacre Canyon, in Nebraska, on the morning of the 5th of August, he led a party of 1,000 warriors that swept down on a small band of Pawnee hunting buffalo. The Pawnee were led by Sky Chief. 70 Pawnee warriors were killed in the fighting, and around 100 women and children were massacred as they tried to escape. Pawnee Indian agent John W. Williamson witnessed the attack. Many of the Pawnee women were violated before being killed. The whole terrible scene was visited over the next few days by white settlers in the area. They found the Sioux had mutilated the bodies of the Pawnees and had burned them on piles of robes and clothing. This event was considered to be the last big battle between the tribes. The government punished the Sioux by not allowing them to hunt buffalo off the reservation alone.
The Indian men got their horses and guns as quick as they could and went after the soldiers. Kicking Bear and Crazy Horse were in the lead. The dust was thick, and we could hardly see. We got right among the soldiers and killed a lot with our bows and arrows and tomahawks. Crazy Horse was ahead of all, and he killed a lot of them with his war club. He pulled them off their horses when they tried to get across the river where the bank was steep. Crazy Horse and I left the crowd and rode down along the river. We came to a ravine. Then we followed up the gulch to a place in the rear of the soldiers that were making the stand on the hill. Crazy Horse gave his horse to me to hold along with my horse. He crawled up the ravine to where he could see the soldiers. He shot them as fast as he could load his gun. They fell off their horses as fast as he could shoot. Crow, sweetgrass, prairie bird, little nest, merry man with a beard, white clover, little thunderhawk, Jenny Bad Horse, sunshine.
The elk has 2 incisor teeth that do not break down and decay like its other teeth. The Plains tribes use these to decorate their dresses. It took a hunter a long time to get enough teeth to cover a dress. For some reason, the crow always have the most elk teeth. This Hunkpapa warrior, Crow, was photographed in the 1880s. The old warrior elk says that Crow wears 2 stripped feathers in his hair a certain way, as it means he has been shot twice by arrows and has pulled them through his body, and he did not break them off. So he wears the quill of an eagle's feather for each arrow.
A man could not even court a girl unless he had proved his courage. That was one reason so many were anxious to win good war records. The women even had a song they would sing about a man whose courage had failed him. The song was, "If you are afraid when you charge, turn back. The desert women will eat you." It was hard to go into a fight, and they were often afraid, but it was worse to turn back and face the women. Stands in the timber, Cheyenne.
The sun was about this high when the fight began. That was the first time we knew that the white warriors were coming. The first dash the Indians made, my horse was shot from under me, and I was wounded, shot above the knee, and the ball came out at the hip, and I fell and lay right there. I know that Sitting Bull was in the fight, but on account of my wound, I did not know anything he did. Every able-bodied Indian there took part in the fight, as far as I could tell. Those that did not join in the fight, it was because they could not find room to get in. There were a good many agency Indians in our camp. They all took part in the fight, the same as the hostiles. The agency Indians had come out, and all made report to us that Long Hair was coming to fight us. So the Indians all got together that he might not strike small parties, and not for the purpose of fighting or counseling with Long Hair what he was coming for, but they were getting ready to be strong to defend themselves. Hump. I stand here and tell you that I have always been a man to hold up peace. Four Bears was that kind of man, too. We both believed that the best way to have peace was to kill troublemakers. Four Bears did it that way, so did I. One time, some enemies came and stole our horses. We tracked them. I had a good horse and I ran the enemy. The horses scattered about. I ran them until I was close. One shot my horse dead. I ran on foot then. An enemy was close by. I shot him. I took his scalp. And this is the knife I used. I shot two more. I took their hair. I knew a good white man. His name was Longbeard. I gave him one of the scalps. I have been a big man since that day. That was my way of keeping peace. People were careful how they made trouble after that. So I am living today.
Over the years, most of the photographs I've encountered resemble the ones shown here, capturing the gradual integration of Native Americans into Western society. The Plains tribes, who were among the last to be civilized, coincided with the rise of photography. Despite losing everything they held dear, many of these resilient individuals quickly adapted to their new circumstances. Some became successful entrepreneurs, like the formidable Comanche chief Quanah Parker, who was perhaps the wealthiest Native American of his time. Others established trading posts, worked as cowboys and guides, they married into white families, they owned farms and ranches. This pattern persisted in countless photographs from the 1870s to the 1940s. And this 1-minute video could run like this for days.
Dakota and Lakota Sioux. Plenty wounds. 2 bulls. American horse. Charging thunder. White war bonnet. White bull. Ground spider. Wounded with many arrows. Stars come out. Sunflower. White face. Lone bear. Pueblo, song. Diego Naranjo. Aleda. Pachuno. The Puebloan culture is one of the longest, continuous cultures in the U.S., dating back thousands of years. Their ancestors, the ancestral Pueblo, go back thousands of years before that. They inhabit the southwestern United States and northern Mexico.
Almost every tribe gave the bear a prominent place in their culture. Bears are symbols of wisdom, often featuring as guardians, teachers, leaders, and healers in native origin stories and myths. Revered for its ferocity and its ability to keep fighting while wounded, the grizzly bear was associated with both war and healing. When a bear was killed by lance or bow and arrow, a prayer or apology was offered in its honor. A necklace of bear claws was considered to contain spiritual power, giving the wearer protection and good health. They were never traded, but could be given as a gift. The large claws seen here are grizzly bear claws, the smaller ones black bears. Many are attached to otter fur. A warrior with the word bear in his name was considered brave and a good provider.
The Indians charged twice in the battle at the lower end of the camp. The first time, the soldiers were on foot. In the first charge, my horse was shot from under me. I came to an officer who was shot through the stomach, who was sitting on the ground, holding a gun in his hand. I tried to take the gun away, but the officer dropped the gun and grabbed me. I was scared to death until someone shot the officer. Arrows were a great deal used. The soldiers were on one side of the hill, and the Indians on the other, a slight rise between them. While they were lying there shooting at one another, Crazy Horse came up on horseback with an eagle horn and rode between the two parties. The soldiers all fired at once, but didn't hit him. We got the idea the soldiers' guns were empty and charged immediately on the soldiers. They charged right over the hill. It was a terrible battle, the worst I had ever seen, and I had some experience. I considered it a hard battle because both sides were brave warriors. Kiowa, Kauyudal, Toba, Akahbot, Sendan, Pawnee Killer, Hummingbird, Asima, Onup, Six Toes, Apache, Go Haddle, Arapaho, Black Coyote, Little Bull, Black Bear, Bear Woman and Freckle Face, Sharp Nose, Black Man, Goes in Lodge, Plenty Bears and Old Eagle, Goes Uphill, Yellow Bear and Little Wolf, Scabby Bull.
Eagles are very hard to shoot as they always fly very high. The Indians go to the top of some very high hill, near where they think there are eagles' nests. There they dig a hole in the ground large enough for a man to get into. They cover it all over with pine boughs and brush, so the eagle cannot see that there is anything there but a pile of brush. The Indian then ties a live rabbit to the brush pile over the hole. Soon, some eagle flying over spies the rabbit. He will circle around 2 or 3 times and dive down and seize the rabbit with his talons. Then the Indian reaches up through the brush and grabs the eagle by the legs and pulls him down into the hole. They often catch several eagles in one day. 2 large eagles are worth a horse with them. Major C. Newell, Rosebud Indian Agent, 1884.
Kill's Pretty Enemy was 21 years old at the time of the Battle of Little Bighorn. He was a member of the Fox Society, and he fought under Crow King. Kill's Pretty Enemy was only 15 when he joined his first war party. He carried the moccasins of warriors on a raid of the Pawnee in northern Nebraska. In this fight, he counted coup twice and captured a war horse from a live enemy.
I was a member of the Fox Warriors. We Foxes thought of ourselves as real foxes and called any enemies the arrow bones, for it was up to us to seek out enemies as foxes do bones. Comanche, Pueblo. Chiricahua Apache. Tao. Cheyenne. Tlingit. Yakama. Kiowa.
Gunstock clubs were used across the country by the various tribes' warriors. They were called gunstock clubs, as, not surprisingly, they resembled a gunstock. Around the 1850s, the Sioux started using their government-issued knives in the war clubs they made. Some clubs have been found with trade blades. One of these was an excavated club, which was found with a set of 3 butcher knife blades marked Lamson and Goodnow Manufacturing. Patent March 6, 1860. I have never seen any other tribe with a 3 knife-bladed gunstock war club. The war club would be a formidable and frightening weapon, and it is said Crazy Horse used one at the Little Bighorn. Kills in the Water said this about the battle. We rode into them and killed them with war clubs. No one even knew Custer at the time. They were attacking us, and we fought them. Join us at Wildwestfaces.
Nez Perce. Tipia Lal Wilpilp. Peo Peo Talakt. Eagle of Light. Alahakat. Smohola. Chief Joseph. Looking Glass. Pile of Clouds. Red Thunder.
Here are pairs of Comanche high-top moccasins from the 1870s and 1880s. The materials used are deerskin, sinew, cotton thread, silver buttons from Germany, ochre pigment, and glass seed beads. The glass seed beads have been traded on the frontier since the early 1800s. Large trading companies like the Hudson Bay Company brought in huge amounts of the beads to trade. Factories in Venice, Holland, Poland, and Czechoslovakia kept up the supply of the beads, as the tribes used them on all manner of goods. There's a Comanche cradle board covered in seed beads. The seeds form geometric patterns, which feature heavily in their craftwork. The cradle board also contains Stroud cloth, another imported product from England. For the first few months of infancy, cradle boards have a soothing effect on babies. After 6 months, they begin to resist being placed inside. Thunderhawk, a Brule Lakota, was fighting alongside Crazy Horse at the Battle of the Rosebud when he was shot and wounded. After this fight, he was taken to the huge village on the Little Bighorn, when Custer and the 7th Cavalry attacked the village a week later. Thunderhawk was unable to leave his teepee due to his injuries, and had a nervous wait for the result of the battle. Chief Iron White Man, a band chief of the Oglala, fought under Crazy Horse at the Battle of Little Bighorn. During the fight, he captured a revolver and 2 cavalry horses. He said of Crazy Horse,
Crazy Horse, along with most of us, was painted for war. He painted his body with hailstone marks, having stripped to a breechclout. His face was streaked with blue lightning. Shikarila Apache. Pa-yeah. Augustine Vigil. Zleke. Garfield. Dongpa. Segesh. Huerito. Gros ventre. Red whip. Eagle child. Black bear and moon eyes. A white girl found living with the gros ventre. Captured when very young. Captured when very young. The wanderer and son of Crow's breast. That's a mirror, not a cell phone. Sioux dog. Horse capture. Three buffalo cows.
Lame white man. A Southern Cheyenne warrior was killed at the Battle of the Little Bighorn. When dead, he was scalped by Sioux warriors who mistook him for a re-scout who was with the soldiers. He left behind a wife and 2 children. His name was typically cryptic. Lame white man was also known as white man cripple, as he was so brave that when he fought the white man, they would lose the will to fight and walk away like a cripple instead of facing him. Touch the clouds. Or Maplia Ikatagya was a Miniconju Sioux who fought at the battle. He is the cousin of the famous war chief Crazy Horse. White Cow Bull was an Oglala Sioux warrior who acted as a sharpshooter during the battle. He was credited with killing several soldiers on Reno Hill. Tall White Man, a Northern Cheyenne warrior, fought at the Battle of the Little Bighorn. Navajo spiritual practice focuses on restoring balance and harmony in a person's life to promote health, grounded in the concept of Hojuji. The Navajo recognize 2 categories of beings, earth people and holy people. The Navajo believe they journeyed through 3 worlds before reaching the 4th world, known as the Glittering World. As earth people, the Navajo strive to uphold the balance between humanity and Mother Earth. Looking at these photographs, it's hard not to see a comparison between these mounted warriors and the old mounted knights of Europe. Although the tribes were in a constant state of warfare, and there are many accounts of massacres, total war was rare. The warrior societies of the tribes were more interested in personal glory than the total destruction of the enemy. Often when bands of enemy warriors met on the plains, instead of everyone fighting to the death, individual warriors would ride out to the middle ground to engage in personal battle. To win glory or to die trying in front of the other men was the ultimate goal in warrior culture. They thought that a warrior's death was not the end of life, but the beginning of another journey for the spirit. Today is a good day to die.
Ute. Dakota Sioux. Osai. Pueblo. Seri. Pawnee. Sioux.
The Comanche Indians are considered the originators of the hairpipe breastplate, and they were first seen on the plains during the 1850s. They were originally made from fragile conch shells or small bones. The conch shells had been used for years as hair ornaments, earrings, chokers, and necklaces. The breastplate spread rapidly to other tribes. The warriors started using corncob pipe stems for their breastplates obtained through trade with whites, but with demand high and supply low. A trader was quick to fill the void. He ordered hairpipe beads from New York, turned out of bone. The mass-produced, durable bone beads flooded the plains. As the beads were supplied in large quantities, breastplates became longer, with more rows of the manufactured beads. During the reservation era, the breastplate became a symbol of wealth when the fortunes of the tribes were at their lowest. Big Crow, a Northern Cheyenne warrior, a member of the Crooked Lance Society, was one of 3 warriors who found a box of hardtack on the prairie. The box had fallen from a wagon of the 7th Cavalry when they were just miles from the huge Indian village on the Little Bighorn. The box was noticed missing, and fearing that their presence would become known, they sent Sergeant Curtis and a small detachment back to find it. Seeing the approach of the soldiers, the warriors galloped off over a rise, back to the village. Custer was informed of this information. It became one of the reasons that instead of attacking at dawn with rested troops, he charged in with trail-weary troops in broad daylight, with no knowledge of the land or the numbers of warriors present.
Negurita and wife Redena with baby Rio Pinos, Ute. In front of battle and wife, Pawnee. Lakota. Witch Hakasa and wife Apatwima, Ute. Mescalero Apache. Northern Cheyenne. Stampede and family, Sioux. Antonio Maria and family, Apache. Ute.
Kills in the timber, Sioux. Jumping thunder, Sioux. Particular in the time of day, Pawnee. Hailstone, Crow. Iron White Man, Sioux. Capelos, Modoc. Little Beaver, Apache. Starving Elk, Cheyenne. Plain Owl, Crow. Boindal or Kiowa Dutch, German Kiowa.
Sioux warrior Wahinkpemani, or Walking Arrow. The warrior received his name when, in a skirmish with the Crows, he was shot with many arrows. He survived and walked away from the fight with them still piercing his body. Some Sioux call him Hobu, or Bristling. Come and join us at Wildwestfaces for more.
The Apache woman's life was hard. To survive in the desert took great skill and plenty of backbreaking work. From a young age, the Apache girl was expected to collect firewood, forage for food, tan skins, build shelters, make clothes and utensils, and prepare food for the family. Adult women also took up arms against the tribe's enemies. They participated in discussions on plans of attack, went on raids, and helped negotiate peace. If she had any me time, she would shampoo her hair with a mixture made from yucca tree roots. If a husband suspected his wife of adultery, he had the right to cut off the end of her nose as punishment. After this mutilation, she could never marry again and would usually go to live with and work for another family. The husband had his horse taken away for the same offense. Join us at Wildwestfaces for more.